Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday, brought to you by Chop Shop Market and Table and Restaurant, where each Wednesday night you can find Don Fischer and Coach Tom Allen at 7:05 for Inside Indiana Football. And when does, I don't want to rush it, but when does Inside Indiana Men's Basketball start? That's around the corner, probably.
You're killing me. Your first thing
I know.
is Indiana basketball, and you want me, and I'm supposed to be a guy that's be positive and all that kind of stuff. And now you ask me about the basketball team after one of the ugliest football games we've ever seen.
I'm just talking about the what night at Coach's night coming up at
Hoosier Hysteria, you mean?
Shop. No, I was meant to Chop Shop. Chop Shop. When does that Coach's show start?
We don't even know yet.
Okay, perfect.
We haven't put the schedule together. That's my job, and I haven't done it yet. I'm trying to get past the first, the really ugliest game I've seen in football for years.
And you cannot describe it any better than that. It was unbelievable, and I talked about it earlier. I'm like, and there was blame to go all over the place. Dropped passes again, or not again, but stupid penalties. Which, golly, sometimes you just got to stop shooting yourself in the foot. Coaching issues. And then how about the Akron coach or whatever it was, strength guy or whatever.
Strength coach, yeah.
He came into the IU bench area. What the hell's that?
There were so many different things that happened in that ball game. And the only thing you can say positively about the contest was that Indiana won and actually executed pretty well in the overtime period, except for the one play in which Jackson totally missed Jalen Lucas by himself in the end zone with nobody around him.
I was sitting there screaming. So I'm like, throw him the ball. It was unbelievable. But that's the one thing I know. You got a redshirt freshman. I said this exact same earlier. You got a redshirt freshman, got a lot going on. Hell, now he's in overtime. That's a lot of pressure, period.
Right.
But you see the defense. And when you have a guy that goes in motion and nobody moves, that has got to catch your attention, because there was no one within 20. The closest person next to him was in the front row of the stands, I think.
Well, it was not good. And as we've talked about, one of the here's another thing that came up in this ball game that you sit there and shake your head at, and that's the fact that 3 different times now, twice in this game against Akron and once against Louisville, you have the ball at the 1 yard line and you cannot shove it in. And they had several opportunities on the one series with Donovan McCulley there to take it into the end zone from the 1 yard line, and they couldn't get it in. It didn't matter. The push the offensive line has had thus far in the running game is not good. It is negative Nelly. And that tells you it's got to be personnel. It can't be the coaching, because Bob Bostad has a tremendous coaching reputation for offensive linemen. And likewise, Rod Carey, who took over last year when they let go Hiller, did exactly the same thing. He helped the offensive line. It got marginally better as the season went on, but it was not great. And this year, we got the same problem with the run game. The offensive line is not opening holes for the run game. And it's just so concerning that this program can't find an offensive line that can help your team win. And right now, that's the biggest issue with this ball club.
Yeah, Don, 92 total yards rushing against this team. I shouldn't say this team, because they played their butts off, Akron, and they deserve a ton of credit. They hold Indiana to under 300 total yards, while they accumulated almost 500 at 474. So Akron played their butts off, and I feel bad for them that they didn't win the game, because it came down to a missed chip shot field goal. And their normal field goal kicker, I don't know what had happened to him, but they bring in their punter as a backup, and he misses that kick, which cost them beating Indiana. And boy, we would be having a much different conversation right now.
Yes, we would. Although the conversation we're having right now is pretty much negative because we saw a football team that didn't execute on either side of the football most of the day. And the fact that Indiana was able to find a way to win it is the only thing you can point to as a positive coming out of this contest. The resiliency that we see in this ball club, the fact that they had a chance at the end was critical, and they took advantage of that chance. So you've got to say, that's the one thing you can hang your hat on coming out of this contest. But it's an Indiana football team right now that we thought had some real pluses and some positives to look forward to this season. And now all of that feels like it's maybe fool's gold, because we certainly saw a performance on Saturday that did not live up to anybody's expectations.
No, and it's scary going forward because, for one, the defense has been Jekyll and Hyde. They have played, for the most part, really, really well. The first half against Louisville was really suspect, but they shut them down in the second half, which was shocking. But then this past week, you're like, what the hell are they doing against this team? It was just, it's a head scratcher.
Right, it is. And here's the other thing. I mean, you were at the talk show last Wednesday night, were you not?
Yes, sir.
And so you heard me ask Tom Allen, well, if you did hear it, I don't know. You're sitting there in the back a little bit, so I don't know if you listened to the show. But anyway, you're sitting in the back. And I asked Tom Allen on the air, I said, Coach, what kind of week has it been in practice? And he said, we've had a great week of practice. These kids are really focused. He says, these kids look like they know exactly what they're in for this week. I'm paraphrasing now. I can't remember his exact words, but he was very positive about the practice sessions. And then I hear, and I didn't hear the post-game press conference, but he told the media after the ball game that we had to have a talk with our players on Thursday because there just didn't seem to be a focus there going into this football game. I don't know if they were taking Akron lightly or whatever the case may be. Well, that was the total opposite of what he said on Wednesday night. So how did it change in 24 hours? I don't know.
I'm not sure we're always getting the truth, or are they seeing it in time? That's another thing. I mean, they have to control that, and overlooking an opponent. I don't see any way in the world that Indiana overlooks anybody. You don't have the right to overlook anybody. It's disrespectful, first of all, but not even from that standpoint. There was no one. I remember as when I was playing in high school, maybe the smallest team you had that in, but if that could change in a heartbeat. It takes one series to change that in your head, and there were more than a series that should have woken Indiana up. It didn't seem like they ever woke up.
Well, and they had no answer for DJ Irons, who played without question probably the best game that he's ever played. At least it looked like the best game he's ever played, because he was very inconsistent in his performances last year and at the start of this season. That was the knock on him, that he had not been very consistent with his performances. And I watched some of the Kentucky game, and he had a couple of plays in that ball game where he ran well and that kind of thing. So this guy's capable of doing it. He's got athletic ability and he's got speed, and he looks like a pretty smart guy. At the same time, Indiana didn't contain him hardly at all. I mean, he ran lights out every time he ran the football on a broken play or a quarterback called play. He ran past Indiana defenders like they were just standing still. I mean,
he was their leading rusher and passer, right. Don. He had a total of 141 yards rushing.
I mean, Lingard goes for 113 yards. Their running back, but 71 of those were on an Indiana lack of execution on a touchdown run. So you could look at this ball game and you could start tearing your hair out immediately, because there wasn't anything that was positive about the performance except that Indiana found a way to win it at the end.
Yeah, and the only thing that I think is hopeful for Indiana is that, unbelievably, this is going to end up being the worst year for the Big Ten in my recent memory. I can't believe how bad the entire West Division is. Wisconsin's the best, and they're above average. Iowa just gets smoked 31-0. Then you've got Minnesota, who gave up a 31-10 fourth quarter lead to Northwestern. Illinois barely beats FAU. Purdue is now 1-4, I think. Rutgers, Michigan State, Indiana in the bottom of the East. And then, of course, you've got the juggernaut with Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and Maryland, who is the next opponent, who is really trying to climb up into that that spot that has long been held by Michigan State, that Indiana was trying to get to, and they're looking good. I mean, they put it on Michigan State last week.
Well, Talia Tungavaloa, if you thought DJ Irons was good, stand by, because Tungavaloa is special. I mean, he is obviously he scorched Indiana last year. He's got to be licking his chops, getting ready for this ball game. They are 4-0. They are looking really good. They have played everybody tough, and they've beaten everybody significantly that they've played up to this point. It's going to be a huge challenge for this Indiana football team, and it's Indiana's first game away from Memorial Stadium, outside of the Lucas Oil Stadium game in Indianapolis, which is supposed to be your home game, which didn't look like a home crowd when you had Louisville fans outnumbering Indiana fans 2-1, which makes you sick in itself. So right now, as negative as we can possibly be, we pretty much put that out there for everybody, but there is still reason to believe that this football team's better than what we saw, a lot better than what we saw on Saturday. And the 3 games leading up to that would tell us that this team is capable of turning it around.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'm shocked, because I truly believe, after seeing how they played at times, the talent is there. They have the talent to have been a bowl team. I don't think they're going to be, but they have the talent. Yeah, you do have a redshirt freshman quarterback who is going to make mistakes, like he did missing Jalen Lucas out there.
Well, think about this too. Donovan McCulley and Cam Camper are probably his 2 best receivers, at least at this point in the season, and they both had a drop in this ball game. And Donovan McCulley's was for a touchdown, because there was nobody within 15 yards of him when he had dropped the football. I mean, so it wasn't just Taven Jackson, and those drops probably cost Indiana as much as anything that Taven Jackson did the rest of the ball game. So I look at it that way too. I'm going to give Taven Jackson a break, because he is a guy that looks like he's the real deal. And the last person I want to lose confidence in is Taven Jackson at this point.
Yep. I wish he had to start from the start of the year, like I keep saying, just to get his every snap he can get, because he's going to need them. Christian Turner did a great job filling in for the injured Josh Henderson, which there's no doubt that probably hurt him as well. Josh had become a great relief valve out of the backfield for Taven. He had running the ball. As a matter of fact, before this past game, he had the highest per catch average for receivers with 5 or more catches. So he was becoming a good part of that. So I'm sure they missed him, but you've got to get over things like that. And
sure,
he's got to continue to improve, but the defense has got to, they gave up almost 500 yards to Akron. And it's like, what's going on there? Because that was just, I thought the best unit without question, but that's going to be scary when they end up playing Penn State and Michigan. Luckily they got Ohio State out of the way. And at Maryland next, they are going to be tested like they're going to be tested like they haven't been tested yet. Ohio State is not the Ohio State team that they are now when they played them. And what a gigantic win that was for them on the last play of the game at Notre Dame. Holy crap. But Tungavailoa is an experienced, good quarterback. It runs in the family, as you can see. The Dolphins are looking great right now, but man, oh man, they're going to have to do an about face for next week, Don.
There is no question. This team has got to look in the mirror and go, we deserve any criticism that we're getting at this point because we performed poorly, did not execute what we were trained to do. And if we're going to have a season that we are hoping to have and expect to have, we have got to completely turn things around in this next ball game because they got a bye week after Maryland, and then they play Michigan at Michigan. So it's going to be almost a month before Indiana's back home again. And I think this is a critical game coming up on Saturday.